Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Here's a quick question for you, kind of grim. When you die, what's the message you're gonna leave right on your tombstone? What's the one message you wanna leave for everyone else? Mine would be like and subscribe. I'd be like, yeah, nice. Got the last word. You won't believe number 4 is what it says. I'm Taylor McWaters, and here are the top 10 cursed messages left on tombstones. Here we go. Kick off our list at number 10, ancient curse. We'll kick this list off in ancient Egypt, then we'll work our way up to more modern stuff. You know how it is. When officials found the tomb of Ankh-Mahor, a pharaoh official that lived 4,000 years ago, they also found a warning, a message, a curse rather. It was written right there on the wall. That's how you know that you're f***ed. Buried in a mastaba, an above ground massive tomb, held this warning. It reads, "Might do against this my tomb, the same shall be done to your property." Yeah, you mess with my stuff, I'll haunt you and your family. How does that sound? Deal? Alright, deal. It also warns of Ankh-Mahor's knowledge of secret spells and magic, and it threatens to fill impure intruders with a fear of seeing ghosts. Yeah, this pharaoh official wasn't f***ing around, that's for sure. Number 9, remember death. Yes, can't forget. Turning the calendars a bit forward now to 1794 AD. A man named James Leeson was 38 at the time of his passing. Now his grave is in New York, and it's one of the most visited graves ever. The message left over on his tombstone is quite simple. It's just a few symbols. Some Harry Potter stuff going on. That's all it takes on an otherwise standard headstone. There's an hourglass with wings, a flaming urn, and a stonecutter's tool, suggesting that this person may have been a mason. There's one line at the top that was decoded a century later. In 1889, somebody finally figured out another message, and this message said, "Remember death." So now that we know this, those symbols become a bit more eerie. An hourglass with wings, that symbolizes time passing quickly, and the flaming urn represents a soul's immortality. Nice. How lovely. Again, on my headstone, it'll say like and or subscribe. Number 8, Ellen Shannon. In 1870, we obviously didn't have the same safety requirements as we do today. Wemyss wasn't born yet. We didn't have anything, right? No safety hats, nothing like that. For example, if you wanted to read a little novel before bed, you didn't have a kind Kindle with you. You didn't even have a nightlight for that matter, but you did have a kerosene lamp. How lucky are you? That's horrible. That's pretty much all you had back then. Ellen had used R.E. Danforth's non-explosive burning fluid, and well, dare I say, the obvious happened. You know the title of this list. Pretty grim. Her tombstone in Pennsylvania doesn't shy away from the cause of her untimely death. See, in a time before Twitter, this was the best way to spread awareness on otherwise a horrible product. Ellen Shannon's tombstone reads, "In memory of Ellen Shannon, aged 26 years old, who was fatally burned on the 21st of March 1870 by the explosion of a lamp filled with R.E. Danforth's non-explosive burning fluid." Yeah, that's a tragedy, of course, and that's a horrible way to go out, but I admire that the family boldly put R.E. Danforth himself publicly as the cause of her death. They put him on blast, for lack of a better term. Number 7, Midnight Mary. Back in 1872 in New Haven, Connecticut, Mary E. Hart, aka Midnight Mary, was placed in a casket and buried, thought to be dead. But really, she was still alive. Yeah, just unconscious. She was accidentally buried alive. How terrible is that? And Mary's tombstone has a lot of information, all things considered. The massive slab of pink stone reads, "At high noon, just from and about to renew her daily work in her full strength of body and mind, Mary E. Hart had fallen, remained unconscious until she died at midnight, October 15th, 1872. Born December 16th, 1824. And then underneath there's one line that reads, "The people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away." Alright, that one line's a bit much. Who added that? That's up. Many have noted that this phrase is from the Old Testament, sure, but the tale of her being buried alive suggests that there might be a midnight curse lurking about. Either way, that is a horrible, horrible way to go out. That's probably my worst fear. That's my new worst fear. Number 6, ancient Entanglement. Alright, once a thriving, beautiful city in ancient Rome, Pompeii was sadly destroyed in 79 AD. Now, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius buried the ancient city in volcanic ash, and excavation didn't begin until the 18th century, much later. And after a full century of careful excavation, the city was then reopened to the public once again. And now we're at the point where we're uncovering even more art and even more messages from that time. Yeah, messages found on the walls of ancient buildings in Pompeii. There's one exchange that I love, personally. It's about two men named Successus and Severus. And here's the message. Let's do this. Successus, a weaver, loves the innkeeper's girl. Her name was Iris. She, however, did not love him. T. Now still he begs her to have pity on him. Now his rival Severus wrote back on, again, said wall. He added to this message and he wrote, "Goodbye, envious one. Why do you get in the way?" Submit to a handsomer man and one who is being treated very wrongly and good looking. I have spoken. I have written all that there is to say. You love Iris, but she does not love you. Yeah, a lot of drama going on, right? And then Mount Vesuvius randomly erupted, and then nobody settled their beef ever. Yeah, this is why you don't waste time in love triangles, okay? Just let her go. Hit that thumbs up and let her go. Mount Vesuvius could go off any day, and you're stuck in an entanglement. Get out of here. It's not 79 AD anymore. Number 5, Eugene. 1929, Ohio. A corpse just randomly appeared on the road, just right in the middle of the road. Just 1920s things, I guess. There was an address found on this man's body, but that address led to an empty plot of land. They also had no name for this man as well, so they named him Eugene. They just named him after a local neighbor. That's a pretty odd exchange. Like, hey, we're gonna name this guy after you. No worries, yeah, we just found him. They used this body as an attraction. He was a mummy that people would visit when they swung by in town. Like a museum attraction, only not a pharaoh and a man from the 1920s in Ohio. Little different. Now, when people started to ask more about this mummy in Ohio, this random ass mummy, locals all agreed to finally lay the stranger to rest underground and not, as an attraction, ideally. So now when you see his grave, it just says Eugene, found dead 1929 and buried 1964. Yeah, I bet so many people see this and they're so confused. They're like, what? Send them this video and be like, hey, you're not gonna believe number 5. Watch this guy. Watch this guy with a beanie explain it. He's much better at it than me. Number 4, Mary Jane McCune. Mary Jane McCune was the wife of one James Farage. Now, she was born in 1838 and she passed away in 1855. Underneath Mary Jane's name is a message on how she passed. And fair warning, like the others, this is quite grim. It says Mary Jane McCune was bitten by a rabid coyote, developed rabies, became violent, and was then smothered with feather bed. Holy shit. Again, imagine just seeing that in the middle of nowhere. It's like, Todd, what the fuck? Barry. The story even recalls that the husband James was away for work at the time all this happened, and he only found out what happened as soon as he got back. That's so tragic. That's the thing with these old resting places. They have tons of information because that was the only way, really, to spread it. That was your legacy. It was literally written in stone. Rabies, smothered. I'm like, oh my God, can we leave some of this out? This is pretty dark. Number 3, KV 55. This tomb was found in the Valley of the Kings by Edward Ayrton back in 1907. It was discovered right next to King Tut's tomb. It was a big deal. But the reason we call this tomb by a number rather than, King Tut's tomb or another name is because we have no idea who it was made for. It's just bare, which is extremely odd for an ancient tomb like this. But as you walk down the 20 steps towards KV 55, you'll notice only a few markings on the entrance. Markings that show that the entrance was once widened since its first cut, along with its ceiling being raised higher. So again, somebody important was in here. It's just a matter of why they were important, right? What did they do? What happened? A little bit of history. The only hint as to who is buried remains on the walls, and it's in one hieroglyph. And that hieroglyph translates to, the evil one shall not live again. Okay, well, I sure hope not. Whatever happened in there, I've seen the mummy, I'm all set. Let's keep it shut. Number 2, bone compass warning. Okay, just because we've been talking about graves doesn't mean these messages have to be written or carved or drawn per se. Sometimes these messages can be as simple as leaving animal bones on the ground. Yeah, that ought to speak for itself. You see that in the woods, you're on your way. See you later. In St. Augustine, for example, the remains of a donkey were found buried underground, and judging from the skull, it had been clearly hunted down by humans, right? It was very not normal. Now that's not the mysterious part. The mysterious part here is that all the bones have been carefully separated. There's no marks to suggest that any tools were used at all, so researchers believe that this animal wasn't meant for food. Maybe sacrifice? I don't know, it's odd. Either way, it's pretty dark. The limbs were placed to point north and south directly. They used this donkey as a compass. How rude is that? Donkeys in that area in Florida in the 17th century, that's not bizarre. But the way that these bones were buried, that definitely is. What's the message here, right? What's the point if there is one? If you reach the pile of bones, you've gone too far? What is this? Someone help me out. And finally, number 1, Paris Catacombs. We have to end with this massive tomb. It was built in the late 18th century, and the Paris Catacombs are massive. The place is literally filled with bones, so of course it needs to have a warning before you enter, right? That's probably fair. That would suck to accidentally stumble upon. You're about to walk into a room full of heads. Yeah, heads up. Since opening day, there's been a message carved above the entrance of the Paris Catacombs, and that message translates to stop in the name of love. No, I'm just kidding, it doesn't. It translates to stop, this is the empire of the dead. And at that point, I would go, okay. Those are the top 10 cursed messages left on tombstones. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Let's have fun out there, it's kind of a dark list. Let's do the thumbs up. Let's go Spread some love, spread some joy. We'll see you next time on Most Amazing Top 10.